So if you start with your warm-up, we're going to start with big muscles, deep breathing, breathing in, expanding your belly, breathing out, pulling your belly back and in. And then we'll go to, again, large movements. These are called standing pelvic clocks, where Sarah is swinging her hips as far around as possible. You can add a little bit of attitude to it if you want to, and she makes those faster and faster, which means that those circles will get smaller and smaller, and then she can reverse. At the end of that, you should actually feel a very stable core. Then the next one is called arm swing. So stand away from them. Yeah. So she's swinging her arms, and this is a fascial release as well. She's letting them fly from her shoulders, a little bit of bend in her knees, and breathing. Good. Then we have what we call triplanar warm-up. So we're actually mobilizing our thoracic spine, arms overhead as she steps forward, underneath as she steps back. And you can do that on each side, about 8 repetitions on each side. And then she'll start flexing side to side. Arms will go to one side as her hips go to the other side. And you can see that her thoracic spine is moving with it, bending side to side. And then she'll start some twisting motions. So her arms fly behind her, opposite of the way her pelvis goes.
And also
Yes, Sarah's a dancer and she doesn't mind bringing her foot in. We like to have the foot drive it. You don't have to look pretty when you're doing this. The more you fall off center, the more your center gets cued to bring you back in. So if you fall a little bit, that's a good thing. Shoulder rolls, elbow rolls, and hand rolls. So moving your shoulder blades up, back, and down, and then starting to roll your elbows from your sides, and then moving your hands from the wrists. So everything can be incorporated into the same motion. Then we have loosening up your neck. We call this snake neck. So she's going to stand, lead with her head, and let her body follow. Followed by seaweed, where she leads with her trunk, and her arms will just fly out to her sides naturally. And then her body follows her trunk. Then we're going to do polishing the halo. So you take your hands, stretch them forward, put them overhead, and create a big circle. The bigger the circle, the brighter the halo. Maybe. Then there's such a thing, we call it hand flapping. This is a fascial release. So she's actually leading from her elbows and letting her hands go along for the ride. Sometimes her hands will face down, sometimes they'll face towards her, sometimes they'll face away from her, like salt and pepper. Then she'll clasp her fingers together and actually wring her hands. And then she'll perform some finger bounces. And then what we call dynamic finger flexion and extension, which are also called jazz hands, tendon glides. And then the web space massage. So taking one web space and circle all the way up your arm, because your arm gets bigger as it goes up, and you'll get a nice space between your legs.
You can also do this on your legs.
Yep.
And a little bit more stretch through those fingers.
So you're all warmed up and you just had a great practice, and now you're going to cool down. So we're going to start with what we call yoga arms, which is where you take a big deep breath in, arms come up, back and down. Remember, the cool down is slow. Up and then turn and press down to one side. Up, down, up, turn, press down to the other side. Then we come back to elbow and wrist circles, but these are going to be slow. And we actually choreographed this to that famous Spanish guitar piece, Romance de Amor, and it really looks really beautiful, like flamenco dance, when you have the music in the background. Notice how Sarah has slowed down the movements. They're fluid. She's getting a stretch. She's getting elongation, and she never stops. Then there's a scalene upper trap stretch where you actually hold your sternum down and you do gentle neck rolls. Slowly stay with any position that you feel needs a little extra love. The rhomboid stretch, if you're sitting, you can cross your arms and stretch down, letting your head go, or you can send your hands down the inside of your legs, squeeze your arms a little bit with your knees and pull your back away from it. So you get a big stretch in the middle of your upper back.
This is a good modification to make if you are hypermobile or if you have shoulder injuries or issues. Crossing the arms can be a little bit straining on that shoulder, which should look like that.
And then we'll go into some nerve gliding, which is also a pectoral stretch. So she spreads her fingers apart, takes them behind her as far as they can go, and tilts her head from side to side gently. And then she turns her hands down, thumbs in, and does the same thing. And hand rubbing and your facial massage. So this is your face that you're going to massage. Your forehead, your temples, your cheeks, your chin, maybe pulling right down to your neck. Be careful of your glasses. Good. Then rolling down through your spine, one vertebrae at a time. Let your arms swing side to side. Let your knees be soft and gentle. And then roll back up through your spine, one vertebrae at a time. Clapping, which is literally clapping. And then rubbing. And my favorite, expelling the chi. Make sure you come up on tiptoes, breathe in, and big deep breath out. Breathe in, up on tiptoes, and again, breathe in. One of the things that we like to say when you're all finished is to imagine equal and opposite movements to what you've just been doing. So you could imagine you're playing your instrument behind you. So if you were playing your organ in front of you, what would it be like if you played it behind you? If you were playing your guitar in front of you, what would it be like if you went equal and opposite? You can get creative with this.